भेद विभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम तत्सत्। So yesterday, in the last class, we were up till the verse number 84. Abresu satsu dhavatsu soma dhavati bhati vai tadvad atmani dehatvam pasyatya jnana yogataha. Abresu, when we look at the sky and if it's a dark night and there are clouds moving, it's a late summer evening, the clouds are moving in the sky, and it suddenly strikes us if the clouds are moving from south to north, the moon begins to appear as if it's moving south in the opposite direction, but the moon is not moving, these are the clouds. Same way, tadvad atmani dehatvam. The atma is ataloyam sanatanaha, it doesn't move, it's stable, it's nirbikara, nishkala. But then we do aropanam. We have this false superimposition and aham karomi, aham karta, aham bhokta, I am doing this, I am doing that. The I is the pure I, it doesn't do anything. The I combined with the ahankara, the buddhi, the mana, so these are superimposed on the I. The best example given by Vidyaranya Muni in Panchadasi is the best way to understand this. You imagine the ghatakasha, the space inside the ghata, the pot, is filled with space. Then you fill it with water, and then the sky is reflected in it. The real sky is the Mahakasa, high up there. And then that is restricted by the contours of a pot, which is Ghatakasa, the pot sky. And then that pot sky is filled with water, and there is a reflection of that sky in that water surface, and we are calling that reflected sky on the water surface is the sky. So you have, these are the levels. So the Mahakasa is the real Brahman, Ghatakasa is the Pratyagatma, the Chaitanya in all of us. It's filled with that water, that Ahankara, whatever, and that sky, the stars and the moon are reflected in the water. That is our buddhi, that is how, the Chidabhasa. That is appearing as Chaitanya. The real thing is the Ghatakasa. That is the Sakshi Chaitanya, which is evident in its presence during deep sleep, because we are able to remember that we had a good sleep, we had happiness, we are experiencing happiness. And how do we do it? Because sense organs are asleep in deep sleep, we are able to remember because we have felt something. But our mind wasn't there, our intelligence wasn't there. How did we feel it? So there was abidya vritti of the witness self. That is that pratyagatma. That is saying tadvad atmani dehatvam. That I am krushoham, sthuloham, I am fat, I am slim, I am old, I am young. All these are superimpositions. Pasyati, the jiva pasyati. Why does he do it? Ajnana yogataha. Because of his jnana is kind of intermixed, polluted, contaminated with ajnana. That is why he calls his body his self. He has dehatma buddhi. Then in the next verse, we are going to move forward. Yatheva digviparyaso mohat bhavati kasyachit tadvadatmani dehatvam pasyatya jnana yogataha. Extension of the same argument. You know, when you are driving, or you flew to a new city and you landed there at night, then you checked into a hotel, and when you checked into the hotel next morning, it's very cloudy, it's chilly. If you're flown to in the winter, you're going to a European or American country, it's very chilly, almost dark, early morning, and you don't know, because there is no sun to see, which way is the east. You want to do a namaskar, you want to do meditation, you don't know. So you refer to a wrong direction as east. So you have dig viparyaso. you confuse the directions. You see the north as south, south as north, east as west. All these things are possible until somebody tells you, no, no, the east is towards this direction. Until the sun comes out and you are able to confirm the east is towards this direction. But if it's winter, the sun will also move a little in a certain angular direction. So that's not perfect east. You have to have proper understanding. Therefore, he's saying Tadvad Atma. He's saying Yatheva Dig Viparya. So the way we confuse the directions, it happens, especially in a jungle. So in the seas, and all the sailors earlier used to use that compass to know north south. So that was in jungle also. You are supposed to carry a compass, otherwise you might lose your way. You don't know which you are going, especially in the rainforests or in the Himalayan forests. I mean, a lot of people get lost. And I was told that near Tunganath there is a very dense forest. It's a reserve forest. And somebody told me that the Reliance was advised by the government to put a tower there because few foreigners who ventured into the forest to trek to the other side got lost. And they got famished and tired, and then maybe one doesn't know what happened, but a lot of these people get affected. So government thought that they need to be told because there's no electricity. It's the reserve forest. So there is no way to connect with anyone. You can't even recharge your battery. So that's it's hell of a tough thing to face. So direction also can be a source of your confusion. You may not be able to confirm. That is saying, Tadvad Atmani Dehatvam, same way you are doing it. Then he's giving another example. Yatha sasi jale bhati chanchala tvena kashyachite Tadvad Atmani Dehatvam pasyatya jnana yogataha. Another example. Why is he doing so many examples? Why is he giving that? It's a tough thing to understand. It's not easily understandable. Therefore, so many examples the Acharya is giving to kind of do a bit of hand holding, spoon feed us with Vedanta. What is the next example is giving? Yatha sasi jale bhati. Sasi is moon and it's reflected on a water surface. And that water surface is a full moon night. You are having a party, you're sitting next to a pool or sitting next to a lake, and you're enjoying the sight of the moon, not by looking upwards, but by looking at the water surface. And imagine that you are on a boat or a raft or whatever, and it's slowly moving. And then there is some movement in the water surface. The moon, which is reflected on this water surface, appears to dance and tremble and move here and there. Look at the moon, how it's moving here and there. The moon is dancing. The kids, if they are with you, they have a good evening. They enjoy the sight of the moon moving here and there. They're talking to each other, and you're watching them. And then you say, why don't you look upwards? The moon is up there. It's still, it doesn't move. How come something which doesn't move can have reflection which is moving? That doesn't happen to me in the mirror. No, because the water is moving here. If you see your face on a moving water surface, your body or your face will also move. That is what the parents explain to the child. Same way he's explaining Tadvad Atmani Dehatvam. The Dehatva is a superimposition because there are movements, there is Kriya Silata. First example, he says Dig Viparyaso, the way it happens. Because these Atma is Desa Paricheda Sunya, it's everywhere. But you are locating in a finite object called the physical body or your Sukshma Sarira, your mind, which is again coterminous with your body. So there's a lot of confusion. That's what he's explaining. Next verse he's saying Tadvad Dehatvam Pasyati Ajnana Yogataha. So one example is loss of direction. Another is the moon vis-a-vis the moving clouds, and now the reflection of the moon where we imagine movement in the moon, which is not there. It's there in the reflection. Who is responsible for this movement in the moon? Not the moon, but it's actually the water. Now, when we confuse the Atma to be our body, to our mind, to be our intelligence, who is responsible? Not the Atma. It is our perception. Earlier, he had explained it. What he had explained? That if in a certain situation, for example, we say that the cloud is covering the sky, he had given that example earlier. The cloud cannot cover the sky. A big cloud, the biggest cloud, maybe will be a couple of square kilometers. Fine. What is the size of the sun? How can it cover the sun? Given our location, relative to our location, we are getting blinded by that cloud. That example is the best example, which is going to explain what is the nature of ajnana. It is a misperception which is specific to us based on our papa punya, our purva sanskaras, where we are. Then we start misunderstanding others, misunderstanding life, misunderstanding everything, including ourselves and Atma and God and everything. God is not responsible. Nobody is responsible. This is a situational problem and it is very specific to us. You don't even know what to do, isn't it? A lot of people, you're kind of overcome by certain powerful emotions in a certain situation. You get very angry, very upset with a particular person because of an emotional situation. Same person you meet after 6 months, you smile and you talk and have a cup of tea with him or her, and everything is normal. What had happened that time? You got clouded. You're saying your mind was clouded. Clouded by what? Is that person, can cloud cover your intelligence, which is infinite? No. That particular emotional situation where you limited yourself, you restricted your intelligence, restricted the vision. Then you have a tunnel vision and something strikes, and that is a certain emotional hurt. And you get very upset with a certain person. Same way, because of a certain limitation we have ourselves created for ourselves, we are not being able to understand the nature of the Atma, which Shastra is going to tell us that you cannot do it through your eyes, your hands, or with your intelligence. You listen to me. That is what the Shastra is telling. Listen to me, I'm going to explain to you, then meditate on it. That is how we are moving toward the next verse. Evam atmanividyato dehadhyaso hi jayate saiva atma parigyanat liyate cha paratmani. The best way to understand, let's first break the words. Evam Atmani avidyataha. In the self, because of ignorance, as a result of avidya or ignorance, deha dhyasa, superimposition of the body, the confusion that you are your body. I am getting ill, I am happy, I am sad, I am fat, I am getting, disease, and I'm scared of death. We are all talking about this biological machine, this body mind complex. This body mind complex is not the self. The self is infinite, and we don't have too many selves. It's just one self. We are appearing as many. Why are we doing this? Because of ajnana, as he gave few examples. Then he's saying, hi jayate. This temptation to do adhyasa is because of ajnana. And what was our pet example earlier that we had done? You are entering a dark room where there is a rope lying on a bed. It could be your daughter or niece's skipping, that skipping rope they are using. It's lying on the bed, and you think there's a snake. Or she's into some kind of physical activity. She uses ropes, and it's lying there, and you think it's a snake. Why do you see the snake? The rope has nothing to do with it. It's because of our own purva sanskaras. And then we suddenly superimpose this purva sanskara on something which has nothing to do with our sanskara. This we are superimposing. The Brahman is there, the sansara is a superimposition based on our previous sanskaras, which are lying deep down in us as we had read in the Viveka Chudamani. He's saying, Dehadhyasa jayate. This superimposition happens. Nobody deliberately does it. It happens because of our purva sanskaras. And we have to slowly remove these habitual, the Buddhists have a beautiful word there. They say habitual conditions and tendencies. Mind has a few habitual conditions and tendencies. We have to understand them. We have to dissociate our mind from them. That's what they call dusting the mind. You do meditation to get rid of these habits. You don't need to think too much. You need to be aware. When you think, you are dealing with thoughts. Thoughts about what? Some real, some false. And what do you need to do? You just need to clean this awareness that you have, the consciousness, free from all that gets entangled with. That is their technique. And that applies to us as well. We disconnected from all these tags and connections, and then we see where from this consciousness is appearing. What is the nature of this consciousness? There we have additional Vedantic insight. What Buddhism says is fine, but they're limiting it to only the mind. Mind, whatever that be, is for one life. And of course, they say they have the theory of alaya, vijnana, karmas move. But then the mind is a kind of a limited word to deal with the word we have called Chaitanya. Therefore, we do explore what is the nature of this word called consciousness of Chaitanya. We move towards the Upanishadic insight, where the word which is used there is Atma. In Buddhism, they say Anatma. The Anatma, the Atma there is mostly a egoistic self and it doesn't exist. We don't have any problem with that. But when they say no, Atma per se, we reject. There is a minor problem. But they also talk about Buddha nature. And I have told you, the differences are very superficial, except that they don't accept the Vedic knowledge tradition. That is a major difference. But the insights, the arguments are very, very similar. Now let's move forward. Evam Atma Parigyanat. So how the Ajnana can be removed, that is the challenge now we have. He's saying when you have Atma Jnana, when you are fully aware of the self, then this Deha Adhyasa, the superimposition of the body as the mind, and the tendency to confuse the self with the body, with your ego, with your gender, with your appearance, with your money, with your degrees, that can be removed. We can get rid of it. What is the technique he's saying? Atma Jnana. Then what happens? Liyate cha paratmani. What liyate means? Leen ho jata hai. It dissolves. What dissolves? So, in that room, so there's one cousin brother who enters. He's new to the house. He says, oh my God, there's a snake. Mama, come and see. Another cousin brother comes and he switches the lamp. He says, where is the snake? And this cousin brother is flabbergasted. But he's very witty, very intelligent. Then he smiles and says, looks like he realizes his mistake and he says, yeah. So the snake has vanished into the rope. The snake was the rope. So in the Jnana Dasa, the sansara is not Brahma Bhinna, apitu Brahma Abhinna eva. Therefore, when we have Atma Jnana, we see everyone, but everyone becomes Brahman. It's very good, isn't it? So you don't have any, sometimes you can experiment it. When you are doing meditation together, they do group meditations. It's a wonderful experience. Why? Because you are discarding your identities, your mental complexities, your little universes to be part of the great universe. When you are meditating, you drop your ahankaras, drop your thoughts. If all of you are able to attain a certain equanimity, imagine who is what. All of them are one thing. So, there's a great vibration which gets created there. So, therefore, he's saying, Evam Atmani, then when you're saying, Evam Atma Parigyanat, when you have Atma Parigyana, when you have fuller understanding of who you are, Liyate cha Paratmani. Kim Liyate? Dehadhyasaha. That gets dissolved. Then you don't have any confusion of samsara is samsara, but samsara doesn't get destroyed. That is not the idea. Liyat means what? This temptation to conceive them as independent, autonomous, and real, different from the Brahman, that sort of a delusion goes. What we consider to be reality is considered a delusion from the standpoint of that ultimate consciousness or perception and experience of reality. That is the ultimate realization. Then we'll move forward. Then he's explaining, there is a bit of commentary here. He's saying, all these slokas, that 12 slokas, he gives so many examples, and the Tikakara is saying a little, let's pay a little attention, very interesting. Evam Dvadasavihi Slokehi Uktamartham Upasangharati. He's bringing these long lecture he gave with 12 verses on why these superimpositions happen and why we forget ourselves. He's bringing that discussion and dialogue to a conclusion. Evam Uktena Prakarena. By this way that he has explained, Atmani avidyataha, in the self, because of ignorance, Atmagyanat dehadhyaso, whatever Atmadhyasa, dehadhyasa you have in the Atma is a result of ignorance. Once you have Atmagyana, eva, he's saying dehadhyasa manushya aham, Atmagyanat dehadhyasa. What is the dehadhyasa? Manushya aham. Ityadi buddhir jayate bhavati. Because of ignorance, you have this consideration. I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm a rich, I'm a poor person, I'm very enlightened, I'm not so enlightened. All these are faulty perceptions of the self. Then he's saying, Hi iti prasiddho. Then he's saying, Nanu eva Nanu etasya nibritihi kuto bhavet. Okay, so Atmagyan is there. So how does it be removed? How do you remove it? Iti ched, if you have that question, Atmagyanat eva. Only through Atmagyana you can get rid of. You can kill the snake not by looking for a stick or calling up the forest department. No need. Only thing is to switch on the lamp. Once you have Rajugyana, once you are able to see the rope, the snake vanishes. The fear of snake goes. Once we have Atmagyana, once we have what is the nature of the Param Brahman, I tell you, very easy to discuss. Very, very difficult to practice it. When our mind actually is able to accept that reality, it's not very easy. People who are in depression, people who are in terrible kind of fear, they have this fear and anxiety, paranoia, all kinds of psychological disorders. You tell them it's not real, nobody's going to kill you. They say, no, people are there around this house, they're going to kill me. A lot of medication and a lot of treatment is required to bring that fellow out of that whole conundrum where he's trapped. Same way the samsara and its reality, the temptations, the attractions, which for a normal human being is very real, takes a little time to get rid of that load. Funnily enough, the load actually doesn't exist. It's an imaginary load. It's like in the dream, you had many of you may have faced that situation. So in school, you had faced a certain examination where you were a little traumatized or you were a little anxious. Exams are over. Now you're doing a job, you're married, you have children or whatever. And then you see that dream again. I have an exam, I am not prepared well. And then you are very anxious, your sleep breaks. Where is the load? It was just an imaginary load. So because of ajnana, a lot of things we think about ourselves don't have any relevance, and we realize it after some time. Somebody told you something and you had maybe a breakup, or maybe you changed the course of your life, you did something else. That was very valuable. A company, you're working, you're very attached to everything. You leave the job. You're thinking so much, this guy is telling like this to me, that guy is demanding so much of work, I'm being exploited. It's a bunch of thoughts. What happens once you kick off that particular job? After 6 months, think about it. You meet the same guy, you smile. You have no enmity, no friendship. You become completely neutral. Why? The whole thing was illusory. out of a certain entrapment of our consciousness in a set of references and a set of temptations and inclinations which make our life at that moment. It's a very sad truth. So wherever you go, you have this entrapment awaiting your entry into that. It's a trap. Wherever you go, it's ready there. The moment we go there, it captures us. Then that becomes your reality, whether it's marriage, a child, your job, your hobbies, or anything we do. Once we get into it, that's why Bhagavan always says that you have to do everything, but not forgetting yourself. That's why a bit of satsang, bit of evening meditation, writing journals, these things keep us alive, help us maintain that intelligent distance from all that we have to engage in. It's a material life we have to engage in. We have to board a bus or a flight and we have to interact with a lot of people. So Vedanta goes for a toss. How do you hold on to it? Constant remembrance. So you have to do that. You have to do true timing. It's like Ramakrishna Paramahansa used to give the example of this Jamidar's maidservant who works for the Jamidar's son, takes care of him. She's a governess. But she's thinking about her own son. Once the work is over in the evening, he says, "Boss, I'm going." And then she runs to her house to find our kid and find out, "How have you been there, my dear?" Feeds him, hugs him. And that's what we have to do. That we have this material life where you find that little private moment in yourself. A lot of people say dating this, that. Have you ever dated with yourself? It's very important that we have a date with ourselves. We need to interact with our inner self. Sit for a while. All relations away, and you have that most precious, intimate moment with yourself. That is the beginning of Atma Chintana. That is what is explaining. What is saying? Nanu etasya nibriti kuto. How does it happen? How do I do it? He's saying, I'll tell you. Atma jnanat eva iti uttararthena. He's saying, what is the uttarartha? Seva atma parijnana atliyete cha paratmani. It will get dissolved in paratmani, in the paramatma, once you have the real knowledge of what is the fundamental delusion about our existence and how to transcend it. And we can do it. That's what he's saying. After that, he's saying, Sa eva deha adhyasaha. Sa means that, means deha adhyasa, the superimposition. Eva atma parigyanat. When we have atma jnana, what is the atma parigyan? What is this atma jnana? He's further elaborating. Brahmatmekya sakshatkarat. When you have tattvamasi, aham brahmasmi, tattvamasi, tvam jibatma na, apitu brahmatma eva. And how? I'm Alpakya, that is Sarvakya. How does that work? He said, look here. When you're sitting in deep meditation, you are no more a person thinking about any particular objects. You have no identity, nothing. That Chaitanya, which is there in you, once you become aware of that Chaitanya is no different from the Chaitanya which with the Upadhi, with Sarvagyatva, with the Upadhi, with that Maya Upahita Chaitanya is Ishvara. Param Brahma wears the hat of Maya, becomes the boss. That Maya cap he keeps, there is Pralaya, there is nothing. Param Brahma alone exists. But if you look at the Sakta Parampara, we have to also understand one critical thing, that na Siva Rahita Sakti, na Sakti Rahita Siva. Na Siva Rahita Sakti. Sakti cannot be there without Shiva. And Shiva cannot be there without Shakti. So they say, what is this? This is Chinmaya Satta, the Vimarsha Shakti. Like a very handsome person, they give the example, very handsome girl, a beautiful girl or a handsome person. She is blind. Does she know how beautiful or how handsome he is? She doesn't know. She doesn't have eyes until somebody tells her. Similarly, God has to have that consciousness to be able to have the Sarvajnatva to create the samsara. And what is that? That is that Chinmaya Satta, that is that Adi Prakriti. So this is Navaratri going on. That's why I'm mentioning it. So in Saundarya Lahari, Sankaracharya addresses Lord Shiva. He's saying, "Oh, Ma," he's saying to Devi, "Ma, without your compassion and kindness, do you know Lord Shiva cannot move an inch?" Because in Shiva, the E is the Maya vision. E is the Devi. So without you remove the E, Shiva becomes Shava. It's like a dead body, cannot do anything. It's only with the companionship with that Shakti. And this companionship is irrevocable, irrefutable, and never gets negated. It's ever there. Then how can you have Param Brahma? The Vedanta thing goes for a toss. Then the Sakta Vedantas will smile and say, "You are stupid guys. You don't understand one thing. Shakti is Brahma Swarupini." That's what in the Saptasati Chandi we read. It's Brahma Swarupini. This is a way of looking at it. Shiva and his consciousness are the two different things. It's one and the same thing. They absolutely both are Nitya, not in Sankhya Parampara that Prakriti is a Nitya. It has no beginning, but it has an end. When once you Atma Jnana, Prakriti gets destroyed. That is what we say as Sankaravadis. But Sankara himself in Saundarya Lahari beautifully explains this. But then the Sampradayas always are very fond of taking extreme step to show their distance and difference vis-a-vis all other opinions or schools of thought. That's a problem. But we can be a little more eclectic so that we are able to embrace all of the views without losing the fundamentals. And that is the main trick of survival in the sadhana or in the material world as well. So he's saying, Eva Atma Parigyanat. So he's saying, how does that happen? How does that happen? Eva sa eva deha dhyasah eva Atma Parigyanat. What is the Atma Parigyana? Brahmatmekya Sakhyatkarat. When you have that ekatva buddhi, Jiva Brahmeva Naparaha, Paratmani, then everything, does he exist anymore? Jiva is not there, only Brahman there. Agyana Tatkarya Rahite. Agyana is ignorance. What is its work? The work is all the adhyasa and false thought we have, and the belief we have in the samsara, the temptations we have, the enchantments we have. All these are the work, the products, the consequences of Ajnana. Ajnana goes, all these things will go. So he's saying, Tat Karya Rahite Pratyak Avhinne. That Pratyak Avhinna. So the Pratyak means the Pratyagatma in Jiva and Brahman. They are not too different. One and one thing, one and only thing, Brahmani Liyate. What does it mean by destroyed? So we are going to all get terminated because we are going to get nuked like in the war? No, it's not like that. Brahma Swarupena Abatisthate. We'll have Brahma Swarupata Prapti will happen. We're not going to die. What will happen? Oh, really, Jiva Brahma are not two different things. Bhakta and Bhagavan are not two different. So what happens to me when I have Atmajnana? Why should I commit suicide? I don't want to get put out. He says, no. You will get Brahma Swarupata, Sarupyata Prapti. That is what he's advising. Nahi adhishtanam bina aropitasya swarupam asti. He's saying, how is that possible? He's saying, look, snake gets destroyed when you put on the lamp. You can see there is no snake. Where does this snake go? It was never there. Why it will go? Snake was never there. Therefore, snake has no existence. It was just an appearance. What was there remains there. That is the rope. Brahman was there. Brahman is there. Brahman shall be there. The sansara appeared. When? No, that's also endless. How long it will go? Till you have jnana. Once you have atma jnana, for others it will not be there. It will be there. There is a guy who understands refraction. So there is a stick dipped in water, and he's saying, no, the stick is straight. For all of the people who don't know the laws of refraction, for them, the stick has got bent. It has got fractured. For the one who knows physics, no, it remains straight. This is how it appears because of refraction. That is how we can understand this whole secret of Atma appearing as a Brahman. Chakarat adhyasa karanam ajnanam api liyate. So you see, there is one interesting thing which Vedanta keeps on harping on, hammering that into our brains. If you have some emotional weakness in you, this is a very practical thing I'm giving. So there is a friend who has been kind of taking you for a ride. He comes and extracts your attention, your time, maybe borrows some money from you, puts you in trouble, or then he goes away. You get very angry. Then he or she again comes back to you after some time and plays the same game and you are again doing it. It can happen with a relative, a friend, or whatever. Why does he do that with you? Because he or she has figured out there is an emotional weakness, some weak point is there, because of which you are not being able to overcome that person. What is the cause of this particular frustrating situation you are facing again and again? The particular emotional weakness you have. So you tend to value it. You go on forgiving. This happens especially in a relationship. It happens in many marriages where one partner is narcissistic, self-obsessed. He'll play all games and everything to demean the other person and draw sympathy for what he does. He's an expert, and you can Google to see what kind of narcissistic personality disorders are and how they exploit their partners. Very terrible marriages. People are stuck there, can't do anything until the other person realizes his mistake, because he thinks I'm perfect, I'm morally fine. The other person is insufficient, inaccurate, doesn't understand me. Where is the problem? Is it the narcissistic person who is the problem? No. It is that person who is codependent in psychology. A drunkard husband is exploiting a wife and she's coping with him. She forgives him. She's called the codependent. She thinks my life is to help this guy. She sacrifices all her freedom and truth and enlightenment, everything, to cater to the needs of a guy who's completely misled in his life. She's a codependent. Now, switch the whole situation, come to Vedanta. We are normally the codependents, and the abusive, extractive, exploitative reality is the samsara. Why is the samsara like that? That is its nature. What should I do? You cease to be codependent. You need to withdraw that emotional disposition where you are vulnerable. Many relations, we are somewhere vulnerable. That's how people are taking advantage. Now, with samsara, we are surrendering ourselves. Why is it happening? Because of ignorance. So, ignorance is the cause. All adhyasa superimposition, I am handsome, I am sad, I am rich, I am poor. This is the karya part. This is the part which shows its results, makes us sad and happy apparently. Can I remove this? How that will stay? If the cause is not there, effect cannot stay. It will stay for a while, then it will go away. The mula karana, we have to remove the cause. Then the effect goes. It will be there for a while. So in a rural area, like for example in India, we are fighting the left extremism in certain tribal areas. And then the government started this employment guarantee scheme and some food for work and then free provision of food. One main anxiety of the tribal people that they didn't have 12 months of free access stable. They didn't have food security. They didn't have employment security. So they were being recruited by these extremist groups for their political goals. Now they are not joining there. They have to recruit some misled or radicalized youth in the colleges to have that Naxalite or whatever politics. Remove the cause. The effect will dangle on, it will linger on for a while, not eternally, because the cause has been removed. Similarly, once you have switched on the lamp, the snake fear may linger in our heart for a few moments. Heartbeats may still be high, but not for long, because there is no snake. You have that absolute knowledge. You know it absolute. The fear goes. Then you can even sleep in that room and you have a peaceful sleep. But if it lingers in your mind, you have a problem. Same way, he's saying what? That becomes Atma Eva. Adhyasam, Ajnana api liyate, Ajnana tatkarya. Both go. Anyatha adhyasa laya bhavat ityartha. If karana is not removed, karya will stay. So, one of your sons or daughters or a student that you are dealing with, he has developed some bad habits. Always creating problems in the evening, doesn't want to study, he wants to go here and there. But at the root of it, there is an idiot or some mischievous friend who has entered his or her life. You have to remove that. Even deeper cause, ignorance. So, proper counseling, when you replace that ignorance with proper understanding, she or he discards that friend on his or her own. For some time, there is some emotional imbalance, like the snake fear, ultimately gets removed. Nahi karanam sati karyasya layah sambhati. Cause is there, effect will continue to there. Tasmad atma jnana deva. Therefore, only by achieving self-realization, sakarana karyadhyasa nibriti. Sakarana, karana is ajnana. What is the karya? Adhyasa. Ignorance, and its consequence is false superimposition. So both will get destroyed. Okay? Iti pallavitena. That's what he's explaining. Then in the next verse, it's easier. Sarva atmataya jnatam jagasthavara jangamam abhava sarva bhavanam dehasya atmata kutaha. Oh, really? I will not have any dehatma bodha. I'll not be perturbed about how I look, what's my health, and all these issues, and how people are talking about me. They are not going to trouble me. He's saying, no, they would not. Even if they do, you will not be affected. Once you have Atmajnana. How does that happen? He's explaining. He's saying, Sarva Atmataya Jnatam. Once we have the Atmajnana, we are not anymore tempted, attracted, disturbed, distracted by Dehatma Bodha. That this body is myself. That doesn't excite us anymore. Once that happens, he's saying, Jagasthavara Jangamam, Sarva Atmataya, whatever you see all around, what are you talking about? The body. Chara chara, whatever it is moving, mountains, rivers, and plants, and animals, and humans, and birds, clouds, the sky, the moon, everybody is Brahman. Because I've studied the Vedanta and I realize it. Once you have that understanding, Abhavat sarva bhavanam, all that, nasuto vidyate bhava, Bhagavad Gita, that Mahavakya Bhagavad Gita, whatever is unreal cannot have existence. Therefore, abhavat sarva bhavanam, all that is appearing is not real. Dehasya atmata kutaha, why to worry about whether this body is real? Once I have realized this whole universe is Brahman, am I bothered about whether the body is real or unreal? I know it's unreal. Therefore, I don't have fear of death. I don't have avinivesha. Yeah, it will fall. I'll die. Of course, you will die. Do your sadhana. Make use of your time for greater things. Then in the next verse, there is a question now in the mind of the student. Nanu, the Tikakara is saying, Nanu jnaninaha nisprapancha atmataya. The jnani feels that Atma is nisprapancha, it's not my body, it's not my mind. Nisprapancha, there is no sansara, it has no relation. Is sambandha rahita, asangoyam purushaha. Mama king syat, what will happen to me? Brahmani abhojanena anya triptyati iti ched. So he's saying he has got a lot of doubts. What do I do? How do I survive? Once I have Atmajnana, sansara becomes ayogya, irrelevant for me. How do I spend my time? What happens to me? He's explaining. Atmanam satatab janan kalam nayamahadvite prarabdham akhilam bhunjan udvegam kartum nodvegam kartum arhasi. You know what he's saying? Atmanam satatam janam, nirantara satatam, again and again, not without a break, not for 5 minutes of satsang, but you are holding on to that truth. Once you know that truth, janan, kalam naya, he mahadyuti, he is addressing the student as mahadyuti. You are suddha, buddha, mukta svabhavaha. You are the luminous self. No, but I am just learning Vedanta. I'm not good enough. Yeah, that is how you appear to yourself. That is your perception of yourself. You're luminous. That is perhaps, to me, that is the greatest insight of Vedanta. We are imposed with, we are drafted into a variety of complexes and misperceptions of who we are. You are this caste, you are not good enough, you are bright, you are sad, you are this, you are that. And the person has a lot of depression. Long back, I remember when Krishnananda Maharaj of Shivananda Ashram was giving a talk to a set of young Vedanta students. I really loved, I mean, I was a young guy, I was listening to him. He said, please remember you are not your thoughts and you are not your actions. Doesn't mean if you do something wrong, police is going to forgive you. No. But you are not your thoughts. Why he's saying the Vijnanamaya Kosha is not you. The Pranamaya Kosha, the Karmendriya and Jnana, the Pancha Pranas, that is the Pranamaya Kosha is not you. Your Pancho Koshatita. That is your Shorupa. It didn't strike me how deep was that statement. But later on, now I'm understanding that in very simple words, Vedanta gives you that profound insight. As a result of it, you feel very light. Somebody said something, oh, fine, so what? You're able to discard it. Let me tell you, the mind, despite all our Vedanta study, will play its game. We will get angry and sad and anxious and depressed, but that is not our real we. These things will happen. Guna gunasu vartante iti matva na sajjate. The intelligent guy, as Bhagavad Gita says, he knows, yeah, I know that. So your favorite sweet dish, some rabdi or rasmalai is right in front of you, sandesh or whatever, kacha gola, whatever is there. That is your childhood favorite. Now it's puja time, it's served to someone. You are on fast. How miserable you're feeling. You are on a fast, you can't have it. But that's your favorite. You smile. That is the eyes of the Vedanti. He sees the samsara, he knows the sanskaras are within, he knows that he has overcome all this, he smiles. Then what? Sukheshu vigata spriha dukheshu anadvigna manaha. That is the advice he is saying. Atmanam satatam janam kalam naya mahadvite. O mahadvite, O luminous one, spend your time. How should I spend? Prarabdham akhilam bhunjan. You have some prarabdha karma. The daughter will call you up, I need this. Your brother will call you, I need this. Your staff will tell you something. Somebody somewhere gives you some responsibility, some demand for a response. No udvegam kartumarhasi. Yeah, you do everything. Don't become udvigna. Dukhesu anadvigna manaha. So what? You have sama dukkha sukha vasi. You have dukkha and sukha. You are somebody who is in control of your senses. Therefore, you are not affected. That is what is explained. So, the Tikakara is saying for this particular verse that, and then in the next verse, he's explaining further. He's saying, Kamadi parabhavena. Kamadi means all raga, dvesa, everything. Parabhavena, you have defeated them. Swahita sadhana unmukhatvam. Once you destroy these enemies, then you are interested in your own sadhana for Atma. Atmanam pratyagavinnan satatam. Then you know I am not different from the Param Brahman. Not as a human being. You are not God as a Param Brahman. That Chaitanya that you represent, the Chaitanya God represents, is only one and same Chaitanya. Once you know, asupti mriti parjamtam, go on meditating on it. Till you sleep on a day-to-day basis. Till you sleep, you think about it. In life, till you die. Think about it. Janan, when you know, Vedanta Vakyehi Vicharyan. Janan means what? You do the Vedanta Vakya, because in Sadhana Kala, we are not Atmagya. So what? We are doing Vichara of Atma. So Janan means doing Vichara. Kalam Naya, Atikramaya. Spend your time meditating on this insight of Vedanta. Then what? Vichara sadhya jnana antaram cha akhilam prarabdham. All this vichara is there in its own place, but then prarabdha has its own force. That will come. Charama deharambhakam. This is your last birth. You are not going to be reborn again. Therefore, this is your prarabdha karma. You have three prakara karmas. We'll discuss that in the next verse. Sanchita and kriyamana and a prarabdha. Sanchita, millions of lives. That is bhavi deha arambhakam. Your future lives, they decide. Prarabdha, vartamana sarira arambhakam. This body and this mind that you have got as a result of some calculation, permutation, combination, the God decides that we will give his birth or her birth this year, this time, here. That is prarabdha. This phala cannot go away. That is what Shastra says in Bhagavad Gita. All karmas get destroyed. Bhagavan says this. However, prarabdha karma continues and you have to suffer it. But now he'll explain this prarabdha karma is just delusional for a jnani. Prarabdha karma is meant for outsiders. A Jnani has cancer, Thakur, and people were asking. There was this Christian homeopathic doctor used to say, "Why are you suffering so much?" And Thakur smiled, "I'm not suffering, but I am just showing you my body. I'm not bothered whether I live or die. But this is just a body, I'm dealing with it. Please don't misunderstand me." He never cared for anyone. He said, "Don't talk." He used to talk to all his devotees and give lectures and all that. He had throat cancer, he knew it. But so far we have this body, this duality of jnana, ajnana, they'll play their games. Jnana is the permanent, the real thing. But this ajnana will appear once in a while, but that should not disturb us. That is what is the advice here. He's saying, "Na udvekam kartumarsi," you should never have any udvega, never have any perturbation, should not never get irritated, excited, depressed, etc. Then in the next verse, he's giving what happens, why we should not get disturbed. Utpannepyatma vijnane prarabdham naiva munchati iti jat sruyate sastre tannira kriyate dhuna. The Shastragyan, the Shastrakar, the author of this book, is saying, my dear friend, don't get obsessed with this word called prarabdha and get burdened. Oh, I have Atmajnana, but still I'm going to suffer. What to do? Because I'm a bad prarabdha, do you know? The other guy has a big ashram. He has private, aircraft. He's having a lavish life. He lives like a millionaire. I'm poor guy with all Vedanta. I'm struggling. And I'm thinking about where to stay, what to do. Nobody cares for me. It's all because of my prarabdha. He's saying, don't you waste your precious time over this stupid thought. Why so? He's saying, look, utpanne api atma vijnane. Even when your atma vijnana has been created, prarabdham na eva munchati. This is what is a Shruti Vakya. That is there in many smritis and also in different Upanishads. That's there. Prarabdha will stay. Yat sruyate. That is what you have heard, that we hear sastre in smritis, whatever we are hearing in commentaries of some wise men. Tan nirakriyate adhuna. Shankaracharya is saying, don't you get too obsessed with that idea. I'll tell you, this is a fake source of fear. It's not real. It's like a scarecrow. It's not real. It's a delusional devil which is frightening us. And how that is? Because you are now refuting Shastra. I cannot accept that argument. He's saying, no, I'll help you understand it. Now, in the verse number 91, he's explaining it. Tattva jnano dayat urdhvam prarabdham naiva vidyate dehadinam asatyatvad yatha sopna vibodataha. He's saying, do you know how that happens? How prarabdha doesn't exist? I'll tell you how. Tattva jnana udayat. Once you have tattva is what? Tat is Atma, the Brahman. Tattva tasya bhava. Once you have what is the nature of Brahman, when you have that understanding, tattva jnana udayat. After that, urdhvam. After that particular moment, when you have a tattva jnana, prarabdham na eva vidyate. Prarabdha doesn't exist. Really? Please tell me, how does that happen? He's saying, deha dinam asatyatvad. You have that dehatma bodha, right? And this dehatma bodha, is it real? Snake, sarpa buddhi is real. Rajju buddhi you don't have. You get scared of the snake, but it's unreal. If snake is real, the knowledge of snake is also unreal. Okay? Therefore, he's saying that tattva jnano deyat urdhvam prarabdham naiva vidyate dehadinam asatyatvat. This deha, mana, buddhi, ahankara, sthula sarira, sukshma sarira, are they real? No, they are not. Ado vante ye nasti vartamane tatha. It was not there earlier, it's not going to be there. It just is appearing like a dream. How is it real? Then he's explaining. Dehadinam asatyatvat, because they are not paramarthika satya, vyavaharika satya, phenomenally real, not ultimately real. Yatha sopna vibodhataha, like you see in a dream, you are on a boat with some little nephew or niece of yours, and you are on a holiday. They love you as uncle or aunt, and there, you're having a good time with these kids. Suddenly there's dark clouds, and the boatman who was taking you on a joy ride, he suddenly jumps into the water, he loses his balance, he's gone. You don't see him. You don't know how to bring these two little kids to the shore, and you are completely anxious. Your dream breaks, your sleep breaks, and you wake up. Then you look for your nephew and niece, they are just sleeping next to you on the bed. You hug them. Oh my God, my kids are fine. Your kids were always fine. The nightmare you had was just a dream. That is what he's saying. That reality of the dream, which created a lot of anxiety in you, was over the moment you open your eyes. Now think about it. If our Jnana Chakshu, the eyes of wisdom, when they open, this whole samsara, all that we are trapped in, they lose their importance. They don't vanish. They'll continue to appear. The sky will continue to appear blue after you have done all your physics. Even if you know the sky has no color, it'll appear blue. The desert will look blue as if there is a lake or something when you're driving alongside on a highway on a hot summer afternoon, but the desert will have no water. The sky will have no color. The sansara will not have any absolute reality, but the sansara will continue to appear as if it's real, but it loses its focus, its force, its hold over you. That is what Vedanta is saying. Therefore, Swapno Vibhodhataha. It doesn't appear. That is how we have come to the verse number 91. I think we've just come to the end of the timeline. So I'll stop here, and we will move forward on this tomorrow. So we have a little time. Any questions you can ask, or we can do the Santi Mantras. Any of you have any questions?